My name is Melinda Harris, and I am a certified canine rehabilitation practitioner at Riverbend Animal Hospital. If you're watching this video, your dog has had an orthopedic procedure with Dr. Thompson. This video was created to take you through the first month post-op as well as some general guidelines for up to 6 months post-op. These exercises will help your dog regain range of motion she may have lost, as well as increasing muscle mass through weight bearing and strengthening. The average dog loses 5 centimeters of muscle between the injury and post-op. The more chronic the injury, the more significant the muscle loss may be. Some dogs will continue to lose muscle after surgery if there is a prolonged period of minimal weight bearing. If you have any questions, feel free to contact the hospital or email me at the email address provided at the end of this video. The first exercise I'm going to go through with you is passive range of motion. The most important thing that you want to remember is to walk your dog before you do any stretching exercises. If you stretch cold muscles, you can cause micro tears. So there's 3 stretches in this sequence. The first one is knee flexion. Now, proper knee flexion means that your dog can bend her knee so that her ankle touches her butt bone like this. Your dog may not be able to do that right away after surgery. The range of motion may be here or here, but the important thing to remember is you don't want to push your dog past the point where she's comfortable. So for knee flexion, bring your dog's knee in to where she's comfortable. Hold that there for 5 seconds. For knee extension, again, not pushing past the point where your dog is comfortable. You want to hold that there for 5 seconds as well. And you're going to repeat each of those stretches for 10 times twice a day for the next about 2 weeks after surgery. There's also a groin stretch that I want you to be performing to help this muscle stay nice and loose while your dog is regaining full function of her leg. And this one looks like it's a hip stretch. It looks like this. You're going to bring your dog's hip back like this, stretch this groin muscle in here, hold that there for about 5 seconds, and you're going to repeat that 10 times as well twice a day. Next, I'm going to talk about how to properly walk your dog for rehabilitation. So, 1 walk a day should be dedicated towards the rehab aspect of walking your dog. This means that when you take your dog out to walk, I don't want him or her doing a lot of stopping to sniff, to pee on things, and I definitely don't want them doing a lot of pulling. When a dog pulls a lot on a leash, he's putting a lot of force onto those hind legs, and that can actually make them a lot more sore afterwards. So it's really important that you have proper control over your dog when you're walking them. Each walk is going to start in the beginning of the rehab process at about 10 minutes if your dog is able to walk consistently for 10 minutes without stopping. And each week you're going to add about 5 minutes onto that walk. I do want you walking up some inclines, as that's going to help really build the muscle mass in the hind legs the more hills that you walk up. So that's really important to do. You can start the first couple of weeks just doing flat surfaces, pavement, grass, just around your neighborhood, and then start making it a little bit more challenging as your walks get a little bit longer. Another important thing to remember on the walks, as you'll see in another scene where we're outside walking with Harper, is that you want to make sure that they're walking with 1 foot in front of the other. You don't want them going so fast that they're non-weight bearing on their operated leg, that they're doing any bunny hopping or skipping. So initially the walk might be very slow, and that's why I give you a timeline that I want you to work off of instead of a distance that I want you to go. So how to walk your dog politely if your dog is not used to walking politely on a leash? Well, there's a few ways that I use to correct that. Not all dogs can walk very nicely on a flat buckle collar. Harper is one of them. She tends to pull a lot and be very distracted when she's on a flat collar. So I've used a couple of different ways with her to get her to walk more politely on a leash, and I'm going to show you those ways now. The first one being a harness. And the one that I have for Harper is a front clip harness. This is called a sensation harness. And I'm going to show you how to fit the harness onto the dog to use it properly. So for this one just goes right over her head. Good girl. And clips underneath her body like this. So your leash will attach here in the front. This works well for a lot of dogs to stop them from pulling when they're out walking. A lot of harnesses that clip on the back don't really stop a lot of dogs from pulling. In fact, in some breeds like Huskies or Malamutes, they can actually encourage pulling more than decrease it. So I would usually recommend a front clip harness for these dogs. Now for some dogs, Harper included, this is not enough. They will still tend to pull with the front clip harness, and you might need something different to help them stop pulling when they're walking. So I'll take this off of her. This is what I use for Harper when we go out for walks. So it helps keep her much more in control. And this is a gentle leader harness. So with these harnesses, or head halters rather, they go over their nose and they clip right behind the ears here. Nice and high up on their neck. You don't want it down here. You want to make sure that it sits nice and high. And your leash will clip right here underneath their chin. Now you'll see in the video where I'm walking Harper, if a dog pulls, it's going to force their head to turn with the leash as they pull. And they don't like that, so they tend to really stop pulling pretty quickly when they're on a gentle leader harness. And this really curbs a whole lot of that pulling activity. A lot of dogs don't like the gentle leaders to begin with. They'll do a lot of pawing at their face and rubbing on the ground. There is a DVD that comes with the gentle leader harnesses that shows you how to train them to it and how to walk them correctly on the gentle leader harness. So, good girl, Harper. So you'll see in the video, the next video, that you're going to see how to walk them when they're outside with the gentle leader. And if you have any questions about fitting or any other questions about how to use the harness, you can definitely call the hospital and they will demo it for you or go through it with you there as well. The next exercise I'm going to show you is a sit-to-stand exercise. This exercise works on proper range of motion of the dog's knee, and it also works on muscle building by having the dog going from a sitting to a standing position. It's like doing squats for people. So we're going to use Harper again as the demo dog. Harper, we're going to ask her to sit. Sit, good girl. Now you can see that she's in the proper sitting position. Her knee is bent all the way. Her feet are tucked underneath her. This is how I want your dog to be starting for this exercise. And then you're going to ask them to stand. Harper, stand. Oops. Distraction. Good girl. Harper, sit. Stand. Good girl. Sit. Stand. There we go. And you're going to repeat that exercise 20 times, 3 to 4 times a week. I'm going to show you now a way to modify the sit-to-stand exercise if your dog does not have 100% flexion in her knee. If you try to do the sit-to-stand on the ground without having proper flexion, your dog will not be able to do the exercise properly and it won't benefit her. So a way to modify the exercise is to get your dog to sit with her hind end on a couch cushion or something elevated and then have her stand up so that she's using the leg as she goes to stand. So as you can see, I have Harper positioned with her hind end on the couch cushion and her feet on the floor. So we'll see if we can get her to stand and then sit again on the couch cushion. Harper, stand. Good girl. Sit. Good girl. That was a little bit better. Stand. Good dog. So you see that one takes a little bit of finesse. These next two exercises are a series of exercises designed to help your dog feel a little bit better about weight bearing on the operated leg. They're called rock and sway. So for this exercise, you want to have your dog in a standing position facing away from you. Initially, supposing that her left leg was the operated leg, and if they're not weight bearing and they're kind of toe touching and acting like this, you may want to kind of put your arm underneath, secure the kind of top of the knee here, maybe put your hand right on their ankle to kind of get them to put their foot on the ground. And the two positions that you're going to have them do are rocking back and forth. You notice her feet are pretty parallel, if you can see there. You don't want one foot here or here. You want to make sure they're nice and square. You rock back and forth without moving her feet 20 times. And then also front to back. This is a sway. Your muscles are pretty activated in here when we do this. And you do that 20 times as well. If she ever shifts her foot position, you want to put it back into the proper position before you continue on. This is a fairly easy exercise. You could do this one every night with your dog if you wanted to. And as they get more and more comfortable with placing their foot on the ground, you can offer them less and less support and just go from here. Good girl. Like that. This exercise is called biscuit to shoulders, and the point of it is to get the dog to weight bear more on her own. So I'm going to use Harper again. Harper, stand. So what you're going to do for this exercise, I'm going to try to position her so you can see a little bit better. There you go. Is we're going to suppose that her right leg is her operated leg. So you're going to take your cookie and you're going to actually turn her towards her left shoulder. When she turns towards the left, she's going to weight bear more onto the right. It's a little bit difficult to see because she's pretty evenly weight bearing on both sides, but it'll be a little bit more obvious for your dog. There's a good one, good girl. And I'll also show you from a hind end view. Come here. Good girl. Good dog. Good girl. So you want to repeat this exercise 20 times as well. Maybe on the opposite days of the days you do the sit to stand exercise. Girl. This next exercise is kind of a fun one that you can do with your dog. Engages a little bit of play, so I know their lives are kind of boring right now, so this is a nice little fun exercise to mix things up. If your dog knows how to shake paw, what we're going to ask them to do is shake paw while standing. When they do this exercise while standing, if you pick up a front leg, they're going to automatically shift more weight onto their hind legs. And it's going to be a weight-bearing and muscle-building exercise. So with Harper, I'll show you this exercise. She does not know how to shake paw. It's not something I've taught her. And if you haven't taught your dogs that either, that's okay. And I'll show you how to do the exercise anyway. So Harper, stand. Good girl. Cookie. So basically, instead of asking them to give you their paw, you're just going to pick up a paw. Good girl. Step forward. Come. Good girl. You notice how it's kind of throwing off her balance a little bit when I go to pick up a paw. And that's exactly what you want them to do. So we just kind of go back and forth. Good girl. Excellent. Good girl. So they don't need to actually know how to shake paw in order for you to utilize this exercise. So try for 20 of these 3 to 4 times a week as well. The next exercise I'm going to go over with you is the circles exercise. The goal of this exercise is to get your dog to weight bear more on their operated leg while they're walking in a circle. So you want to have a stationary object in the middle of the circle so your dog is not spinning on their leg. If they spin on their leg, they can actually cause more damage to that knee. So that's not something that you want to have them doing this early in the game. So very important to have a stationary object in the middle of your circle. It can be a box, a chair, anything that you have available to you. So we'll suppose that Harper's operated leg is her right leg. Harper, Harper, come. So if the dog's operated leg is their right leg, you're going to have them walking in a clockwise circle. So the right leg is on the inside. Good girl. Just like this. Keep on. And if their operated leg is the left leg, you have them going in a counterclockwise circle. Atta girl. Good dog. So you want them to work up to 20 circles 3 to 4 times a week. This next exercise is similar to the circles. It's called figure eights, and it's going to encourage weight bearing kind of in a back and forth pattern as they go around in the figure eight. So again, we'll use Harper. Hi, sweetie, stand up. Good girl. And for this exercise, it doesn't really matter which direction you're going in because you're going to be going back and forth on both hind legs. So you take your cookie. Come on, honey. Come. Good girl. That's a good dog. There we go. You can reverse directions if you want to. Come. Good girl. Good girl. So you'll repeat that 20 times, 3 to 4 times a week, maybe on the days that you don't do circles. Another fun exercise you can do with your dog is gentle tug of war. In a tug of war exercise, your dog is gently pulling forward and then backwards and utilizing those muscles of the hind legs. So it's another fun thing that you can do with your dogs. And again, not all dogs know how to play tug of war. If your dog doesn't, as Harper, she's not really a fan of toys in that way, the alternate exercise would be to get your dog to back up. So how do you teach your dog to back up? How I do it is to have a cookie in your hand and just step towards them. Good girl. And as you do that, they're going to take a few steps backwards. Good girl. This really engages their hamstring muscles. So I'll do this for another view. Come here, Harper. Turn. Turn. Back up. Stand. Back up. Good girl. Go forward. Back up. Good girl. Forward. And those exercises are going to mimic the tug of war play motion if your dog doesn't know how to do that. For this exercise, I've moved down to my basement, as you can see, have a little bit more room. This is the Cavaletti exercise, and what this exercise does is get your dog to work on proper range of motion of the knee while he's or she is walking. So I've set up 3 just pieces of wood that I found in my basement, and you can do the similar thing at home. And they're spaced roughly about 2 feet apart because she's a pretty tall dog, and they're only about 2-3 inches high at this point. As your dog gets better at this exercise and has better range of motion, you can make this a little bit taller by placing your 2x4s on some blocks, make it a little bit more challenging for them. The goal of the exercise is to get them to step over the pieces of wood. I don't want her walking so fast that she's bunny hopping over or anything like that. That's not going to be very, very beneficial to her. So, Harper, I'll show you this exercise. We'll lure her with the cookie. So you want them walking nice and slowly over the pieces of wood. Good girl. Come. Good girl. She's using each foot with every step. There's no hopping. Except for right there, that was too fast. Good example of what not to do. We'll try to get her to go a little slower. There we go. Perfect. You can also mimic this a little bit if you have some branches in your backyard, you've got some trails that you can use out in the woods. You can get them to step over logs or sticks or things like that outside as well. But again, every time you're doing this, you're looking for that nice, good range of motion and no bunny hopping over the objects. So try to set this up and do this 3 to 4 times a week, 20 times over the rails.